Welcome back, everyone. If you're gearing up for your Marine Engineering Officer or MEO safety classes and oral exams, well, you've landed in exactly the right place for this explainer. Today, we're decoding the absolute lifeline of maritime law. We're talking the big ones: MARPOL, SOLAS, ISM, and the MLC. You know, these aren't just a bunch of dry acronyms to memorize. They're literally the rules that keep you alive, keep our oceans clean, and keep international trade moving. All right, let's jump right in and get you prepped for those exams.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We'll start off with MARPOL, then move into SOLAS, tackle ISM and ISPS, touch on IMO and surveys, get into ship structure and ballast, and finally wrap up with the MLC.
Section 1. MARPOL, Marine Environment Protection.
Okay, kicking things off with MARPOL. Now, right at the very top of our source notes for Annex I, and do not ignore this top part, it's absolutely crucial, there's a fundamental rule. It explicitly states that oily mixtures must never, ever be mixed with oil cargo residues, period. Plus, if you're operating in what's known as a special area, the rules get incredibly strict. You've got to have an alarm set up, and crucially, any discharge of an oily mixture has to automatically stop and trigger that alarm if the oil content creeps over 15 parts per million, or ppm. That 15 ppm limit, it's a hard, non-negotiable line in maritime law.
Now, what happens if there's a spill? That's where Regulation 37 comes in, requiring a SOPEP, the Shipboard Oil Pollution Emergency Plan. Think of this as your rapid response playbook. First step, report the incident immediately. Second, contact your designated personnel. Third, you take immediate action to control the discharge using your onboard SOPEP gear, stuff like sawdust, cotton rags, dispersants, or Wilden pumps. Finally, coordinate with local authorities. It's all about having a fast, highly structured response to stop a bad situation from getting worse.
Shifting gears to air pollution under MARPOL Annex V. Let's look at the math for nitrogen oxide or NOx emissions from diesel engines. Regulation 13 ties these limits directly to your ship's construction date and the engine's RPM. It's actually pretty wild to see how aggressively these limits have dropped. We go from Tier 1 in the year 2000 to Tier 2 in 2011 and down to Tier 3 in 2016. Just to put it in perspective, for a high-speed engine running at 2,000 RPM or more, that limit absolutely plummets from 9.8 down to just 2.0 grams per kilowatt hour. The industry is pushing hard for cleaner air for sure.
Section 2. SOLAS, ensuring ship safety. So we've covered the environment. Now let's talk about protecting the physical ship and everyone on it. SOLAS is massive, but for your oral exams, you really need to nail these specific chapters. Chapter 2.2 is all about fire safety, mandating those crucial thermal and structural boundaries to contain a fire right where it starts. Chapter V, that's safety of navigation, making tools like the voyage data recorder mandatory. Then we have chapters VI and VQA, which govern the safe carriage of general and dangerous cargoes. And finally, chapter 12 brings in some intense structural requirements to stop bulk carriers from accidentally flooding.
Staying within SOLAS Chapter 5 for a second, you absolutely must know the difference between AIS and LR. Think of AIS, the Automatic Identification System, as a local shout-out. It's broadcasting your identity, position, and speed to anyone nearby with a receiver, mostly to avoid collisions. LRIT, on the other hand, that's long-range identification and tracking. This is a highly secure, automatic data drop sent straight to your company and the flag state 4 times a day. It's not for the ships around you. Its purpose is strictly for long-range security and environmental tracking.
Section 3. ISM and ISPS security codes.
All right, moving up the chain of command to safety management. Under the ISM code, there is a classic exam trap you really want to avoid, and that's mixing up the DOC and the SMC. Here's the deal. The Document of Compliance, or DOC, is issued to the management company itself after they pass a shoreside audit. It lasts for 5 years. But the Safety Management Certificate, the SMC, is completely different. That one is issued to a specific individual ship after an onboard audit proves the system actually works on that specific vessel. So remember, company gets the DOC, ship gets the SMC.
Let's talk security with the ISPS code. You can almost think of this like escalating movie tension. Level 1 is your day-to-day baseline, keeping unused rooms locked, making sure the decks are well lit. If intelligence says there's a heightened risk, you bump up to Level 2. Now, baggage can't be left unattended, and access to the bridge or engine room is locked down to crew only. But Level 3? That means there's a specific imminent threat. Security becomes absolute. We're talking the gangway is physically lifted and 100% of ship store loading is totally suspended.
Section 4. IMO frameworks and surveys. Let's zoom out for a minute and look at who actually enforces all these rules. It really comes down to understanding jurisdiction. The flag state is the country where the ship is registered. They're basically the home team, fundamentally responsible for setting standards and doing regular safety inspections. But, ships travel the globe, so enter Port State Control, or PSC. PSC is the local authority at whatever international port you're visiting. They step in to inspect foreign ships in their waters and make sure they're playing by international rules. So the flag state gives you your rules, and PSC makes sure you're following them wherever you go.
As an MEO, you're going to deal with both audits and surveys, and yes, they are very different. Think of an audit as looking backward. It's checking your past operations and paperwork. Like, have you been filling out your garbage record book correctly over the last month? A survey, though, looks forward. It's a physical, hands-on examination of the ship's hardware right now, making sure everything is in good enough shape to operate safely into the future.
Section 5. Ship Structure and Ballast Water. Okay, let's ground all this paperwork in physical reality. But before we talk steel, let's talk water. The Ballast Water Management Convention has two main standards. D1 is basically just an exchange standard. It says you have to pump out and replace at least 95% of your ballast water way out in the deep ocean, specifically 200 nautical miles from land and 200 meters deep. But actually, scratch that. The industry is moving away from that to the much stricter D2 standard. D2 requires an actual onboard treatment system to zap microbes, keeping the discharge strictly under 10 viable organisms per cubic meter.
Now for the metal. A ship's hull takes a massive beating, and you need to know the three main stresses it goes through. If you load too much weight in the center, the ship bends downwards in the metal. That's called sagging. On the flip side, if a big wave crest lifts the center, the hull bends upwards, which is hogging. And if you're hitting cross seas where a wave hits one side while the trough is on the other, the whole ship literally twists. That twisting motion is called racking stress.
Building on that, the front of the ship, the bow, deals with its own special kind of punishment. As the ship pushes through water, the changing pressure actually makes the bow plating flex in and out. It's called panting, and it's literally like the ship is breathing. Pounding, though, is way more violent. When you're pitching heavily in rough seas and the bow lifts totally out of the water, when it slams back down into the sea, that massive crushing impact, that's pounding.
Section 6. MLC. Seafarer Welfare Standards.
We're wrapping up this explainer with the fourth big pillar of the IMO, which is all about you, the Maritime Labor Convention. The MLC is widely known as the Seafarer's Bill of Rights. Across its 5 titles, it legally guarantees everything from your minimum requirements just to work on a ship to your basic wages. It dictates standards for your living quarters, your food, your recreation time. It even guarantees your health protection and medical care at sea. And it's got teeth, too. Strict enforcement backed by the Declaration of Maritime Labor Compliance, or DMLC.
To keep you healthy and stop dangerous, fatigue-driven accidents, the MLC draws a very hard line on your schedule. The rule is this: your maximum hours of work absolutely cannot exceed 14 hours in any given 24-hour period. And looking at it from the rest side, the Manila Amendments locked in another crucial number you need to memorize. Every seafarer must be given a minimum of 77 hours of rest in any 7-day period. Not 70, exactly 77 hours. These aren't just polite suggestions. They are strict legal requirements built to keep you sharp and safe.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground today. From MARPOL's 15 ppm limits to SOLAS fire zones, ISPS lockdowns, and your absolute rights under the MLC. For a marine engineering officer, this isn't just a textbook to memorize for an oral exam. This is the very framework of your daily life at sea. Every single time you step onto a vessel, you carry the weight of these regulations. So, my final question to you is this. Knowing the sheer magnitude of what's required, are you truly ready to take the helm and protect life, ship, and the environment? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and seriously, best of luck on your exams.